Welcome back to Root Causes, and welcome back to Root Causes, Bas Westerbaan from Cloudflare.
Great to be
so
here.
Happy to have you back. So we've talked in previous episodes about Cloudflare accelerating its PQC deployment schedule, and one of the big motivators was very credible research that suggests that ECC is perhaps more vulnerable, ECC in particular, is perhaps more vulnerable to quantum attack than people had previously thought. And based on that, I think I want to ask the question, and other people are asking the question, do we all need to get rid of ECC?
Short answer. Well, yes, but
yes, but
don't migrate to RSA in between. That doesn't make sense. I mean,
okay.
A similar thing you hear is, okay, just go from RSA 2000 to RSA 4096 or something like that.
Sure.
But I think the best way to explain why this doesn't work is, I think, with a picture of Sam Jacques. So Sam Jacques, he makes this nice 2D graph. He calls it the quantum landscape. Let me pull it up.
I just saw that image. I just saw it recently.
So maybe we can put a link. I don't know if you can put a link.
I have that image, boss. I promise you I'll put it up at this point in the podcast right now. Okay. So I assume it's on the screen.
Yeah, okay, excellent. So what you see here is a graph of horizontally it's the number of qubits, and vertically it's how little noise they have. So higher means less noise, and this box on the left, that's where the quantum computers are now, and on the right we have these lines, where we have these lines where so the long lines are when the different RSAs are broken with Gidney's approach, and then we have these dots here where RSA is broken with the new algorithms on these special reconfigurable, and on these special quantum computers that have reconfigurable qubits. And as you can see here, the one that's closest is ECC 256.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
With very special codes. Yeah, that's a hell of a lot closer than it was, right? But the thing is, this is not the right way to look at it, right? Because today we compare quantum computers to developed technology like our silicon chip manufacturing. That's what we compare it to, and that's a very predictable industry with year-over-year progression. And
Moore's law.
Whether Moore's law, whether it's actually describing nature or whether the industry is following its own set law, right? I mean,
it's an interesting question. Sure.
Yeah, it's an interesting question, but but the people that are actually working on quantum computers, they're not thinking about how much are they improving this key metric each time. The thing they are solving is, okay, how am I able to fit? Okay, I know how to scale now the number of qubits, but now I have 2 wires which go to each qubit. But I want to have 200 qubits, but now all these wires don't fit through the aperture of my fridge, right? So they don't think in how big is the aperture of my fridge to pull through all those wires. Now what they're thinking about is, can I make this multiplexer to have 1 wire to control them all? They're thinking in capabilities. And so this picture doesn't show capabilities, right? And so there's a good chance that once all engineering hurdles are solved, that the jumps will not be as static, but there will be a big jump in various approaches, especially in the qubit count. So that is one worry why this might be a little bit misleading, this graph.
And those big jumps might be there might not be prior evidence to telegraph that big jump is coming, right? Those big jumps might essentially be a surprise.
Yeah, that's the problem with breakthroughs, right? That's the problem with breakthroughs.
Yeah.
And the thing is also the scary thing is that I think we're changing the topic a little bit, but I think it's an interesting conversation.
It's okay. Let's go.
So we have on the frontier, we have different approaches to make quantum computers. Right? Today we have basically just the silicon-based computers. That's the only computer we have. And on the quantum computer side, we have all these different approaches. The silicon transmon ones, the ion, the neutral atom, moonshots like Microsoft's Majorana. And most of these, except Microsoft's Majorana, most of these are actually on the frontier. They're actually quite competitive. If you look at the performance, but also if you look at, there's of course differences, but if you look at the number of problems to solve. Now the neutral atoms, they weren't on my radar for a long while because they were looking to be, they had a longer list of problems, but that one has skipped ahead. But the problem is we have each of these approaches which are on the frontier. And whereas maybe 10 years ago, you would think, oh, there's so many problems for each of them. Will any of them make it? Now it's like, oh God, we have to believe that each of them will have that insurmountable wall in their last engineering challenges. Right? So that's the thing that makes it so small chance events are amplified because there's still different content approaches, right? Which are quite different. Right. Okay. Anyway, if you look at the graph, right? So first the question 2048 or 4096. If you see that there's a whole lot of nothing on the left, and then all of these RSAs are very close together. Each of these lines, it's just barely. And the reason is that quantum computers are noisy and they require error correction, quantum error correction. And this error correction has a baseline overhead. And once you finally get over the baseline overhead, then it grows quickly. And that's why they're tucked together that much together. Once you get over the baseline overhead, you get there. In a sense, it's kind of the same thing where Scott Aronson says, if someone is building a nuclear bomb, right? You don't expect the first nuclear explosion to be a small nuclear explosion. The first thing you expect is a big boom. Right. So that's the thing. So moving to RSA 4096, I don't know how much you will buy. A few months. The effort in moving is not worth it. And also ECC now is the one that's in most trouble. For the longest time we thought it. So originally we thought ECC just from looking at Shor's algorithm and the way it works, where it depends on the size of the group. Then we thought ECC is more vulnerable. Then if you think a little bit more, it's like, oh, but the operations are a bit more complex. And then, so we thought maybe RSA. Then we optimized. So it has been going back and forth between which one is most vulnerable over time. So, I mean, maybe RSA will become more vulnerable in the future. Do we want to bet on this? I don't. Better just go PQ now. Yeah.
So your point is any effort we would spend migrating systems from ECC to RSA would be effort better spent prepping for PQC.
Yeah, I would say so.
Bas, that's a fantastic place to land because I think a lot of people have been thinking about raising key sizes. A lot of people have been thinking, is it RSA or ECC that's most vulnerable? And I think for the longest time, people always put RSA at the top of the list, even though that's a wives' tale rule of thumb that just doesn't make any sense anymore. We have to think all factorization-based cryptography is vulnerable to quantum computers. And once we have a cryptographically relevant quantum computer, it all just falls.
Yep.
Yeah. All right. Well, there you go. That's a gloomy end. Thank you so much, Bas. This is a topic that we could probably discuss forever. I think this is a good place to leave it today. I'm certain we'll be having you back, especially as things develop. And we appreciate you.
I was happy to be here.
Thanks so much, Bas. Take care.